Ladies and gentlemen, the heart is a deep well, and from it flow the emotions that shape every relationship. Love, joy, sorrow, and anger all arise within, yet they must not rule over a person's action. Many are led astray not by the words or deeds of another, but by the uncontrolled tempest of their own emotions. They respond in haste, speak in anger, and act in fear, only to later seek to undo the damage they have caused. But there is a better way, a way of wisdom, patience, and peace. Let every person seek to master their emotions, to step back when anger rises, to reflect before speaking, and to love without chains. For the one who walks in wisdom, whose heart is free from the burden of uncontrolled emotion, will build relationships that are firm, enduring, and filled with peace. And in this way, love will not be a burden, a blessing, one that brings joy, security, and lasting harmony. In relationships, emotions are like the winds that blow across the sea, sometimes calm and peaceful, other times raging with force. If one builds their relationship on emotions alone, it will be like a house set upon shifting sand, unable to withstand the storms of life. Many fall into the trap of believing that emotions alone are enough to sustain love. But love is not merely a feeling. It is a choice, a commitment, a discipline. The winds of emotion may be strong, but they should never be allowed to steer the ship. Instead, wisdom must take the helm. When emotions are unguarded, they lead to hasty words, rash decisions, and actions that can wound even the strongest of bonds. A person who is led by feelings alone may one day feel deep love and affection, and the next day feel irritation and doubt. If they allow these shifting emotions to dictate their actions, their relationship will be unstable. Love cannot be dictated by passing feelings, for emotions are temporary, but love must be steadfast. Just as the seasons change, so do emotions. There will be moments of joy and moments of frustration, moments of warmth and moments of cold distance. But the key to a lasting relationship is not found in chasing emotions, but in anchoring oneself in wisdom, patience, and understanding. One must learn to observe emotions without being ruled by them. It is natural to feel anger when wronged, to feel sadness in moments of loss, and to feel frustration when misunderstood. However, wisdom teaches that emotions should never be the master. They should be the servant. If one allows emotions to take control, they will be led astray, making decisions in moments of weakness that they later regret. But if one chooses to step back, breathe, and seek understanding before reacting, they will find that emotions no longer control them, but rather they control their emotions. Many relationships crumble not because of great betrayals or irreparable differences, but because emotions are allowed to dictate behavior. A simple misunderstanding, when fueled by unchecked emotion, can turn into a conflict that divides hearts. Words spoken in anger, even if later regretted, can leave wounds that take years to heal. But the one who pauses before reacting, who seeks to understand before speaking, and who chooses wisdom over emotional impulse will bring peace instead of discord. Detachment does not mean a lack of care or a withdrawal of love. It means the ability to step outside of the moment, to see things clearly without being clouded by temporary feelings. When emotions rise like waves in a storm, detachment allows one to remain steady, anchored in truth rather than tossed about by fleeting feelings. The person who masters this principle will not be easily provoked, will not speak in haste, and will not allow momentary anger to destroy what has taken years to build. One of the greatest signs of wisdom in a relationship is the ability to remain calm in the midst of emotional turbulence. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending they do not exist. Instead, it means acknowledging them, understanding them, and choosing to act with patience and clarity rather than immediate reaction. Just as a captain does not abandon his ship when the winds grow strong, one must not allow emotions to dictate the course of a relationship. The strongest relationships are not those without conflict, but those where both individuals have learned to navigate emotions with wisdom and grace. Emotions are a part of life, but they must never be allowed to take control. Love that is ruled by emotions alone will be unstable, rising and falling with the tides of feeling. But love that is grounded in wisdom, patience, and detachment will endure through every storm, standing firm like a house built upon a rock. Many believe that detachment means indifference, as if one must withdraw from emotions to find peace. But true detachment is not the absence of love, it is the presence of wisdom. It is the ability to love without being consumed, to care without losing oneself, and to be present in a relationship without being ruled by fear, insecurity, or the need for control. Detachment is the discipline of responding rather than reacting, of choosing patience over impulse, and of seeking peace rather than being ruled by emotions. The person who is ruled by their emotions will find themselves constantly in turmoil. They will react to every word, every action, and every perceived slight, as if their peace depends entirely on how others treat them. In relationships, this creates instability, where love is conditioned on emotions that change from day to day. If love is only present when emotions are favorable, then love will disappear when challenges arise. But true love is steadfast, not shaken by temporary feelings, because it is built on trust, patience, and understanding. Detachment does not mean withholding affection or refusing to feel. It means being so secure in oneself and in love that external circumstances do not dictate inner peace. It is the understanding that one cannot control another person's actions, only their own responses. When someone speaks in anger, detachment allows one to listen without immediately reacting. When someone is distant, detachment allows one to remain calm rather than being consumed by anxiety. When misunderstandings arise, detachment allows one to seek clarity rather than assuming the. Many relationships suffer because individuals believe they must control or change their partner to find peace. They become attached to expectations, believing that if only their partner were different, more attentive, more expressive, more understanding, then they would. But happiness built on the actions of another is fragile and fleeting. A person who practices detachment does not place the burden of their emotions on another. Instead, they find peace within themselves and allow love to flow freely without conditions or demands. When one is detached, they do not demand constant validation or reassurance. They trust that love is present even when unspoken. They do not seek to control their partner's every move, for they understand that true love is given freely, not out of obligation or fear. They do not take everything personally, for they recognize that people speak and act from their own experiences, and not everything is a reflection of them. This creates a relationship built on mutual respect, where both individuals are free to be themselves without fear of judgment or control. Many fear detachment because they believe it will make them cold or distant. But detachment does not remove love, it purifies it. It removes the neediness, the fear, and the insecurity that often poison relationships. It allows one to love with an open hand rather than a clenched fist. Instead of reacting with anger or fear, one learns to respond with understanding and patience. Instead of clinging in desperation, one learns to trust in the natural flow of love. Instead of being consumed by worry or jealousy, one learns to find peace in knowing that love is not something to be controlled, but something to be cherished. To practice detachment is to free oneself from emotional bondage. It is to recognize that love is not about possessing another person, but about walking together in trust and understanding. A relationship built on wisdom rather than emotional reaction will be steady through all seasons. It will not be shaken by the small storms of life, for its foundation is not based on fleeting emotions, but on a deeper, lasting connection. Detachment is not the end of love. It is the beginning of true, unconditional love, where both individuals are free to love fully, without fear and without chains. Many believe that emotional attachment is the foundation of love, yet they do not realize that unhealthy attachment can often lead to suffering. Love that clings too tightly, that seeks to possess rather than to give, becomes a burden rather than a blessing. True love is not about control or dependency. It is about freedom, trust, and the ability to stand firm in one's own spirit while walking alongside another. When one learns to master their emotions through detachment, they no longer become a prisoner to their fears, insecurities, or need for constant validation. Instead, they cultivate a love that is peaceful, strong, and enduring. Emotional detachment does not mean withdrawing from love or closing one's heart. It means loving in a way that is secure rather than desperate, patient rather than anxious, wise rather than impulsive. Many suffer in relationships because they have placed the weight of their happiness on another person. They believe that without their partner's constant affection, attention, or approval, they are unworthy or unloved. This type of attachment is rooted in fear, not in love. It creates dependence where one's emotions rise and fall based on another's actions. But love was never meant to be a source of suffering. It was meant to be a reflection of peace, joy, and harmony. When emotions are not mastered, they become a storm that can destroy even the strongest relationship. A heart ruled by insecurity will constantly seek reassurance, mistaking love for possession. A heart ruled by jealousy will look for reasons to doubt, even where there is no cause for mistrust. A heart ruled by fear will cling too tightly, suffocating the very love it wishes to preserve. But the one who practices emotional detachment understands that love is not about control. It is about freedom. They do not seek to possess another, nor do they seek their worth through another's approval. Their love is not given out of fear, but out of abundance. To master emotions is to learn the art of self-awareness. It is to recognize when fear is speaking rather than love, when insecurity is guiding one's actions rather than wisdom. It is the ability to pause before reacting, to reflect before speaking, and to choose peace over unnecessary conflict. Many arguments in relationships are not rooted in real issues, but in emotional reactions that have gone unchecked. A small misunderstanding, when fueled by fear, can turn into days of silence. A simple delay in response can be misinterpreted as rejection. But the one who has mastered their emotions does not allow these small waves to turn into great storms. They step back, breathe, and respond with patience and clarity. Detachment in love is not the absence of feeling, but the presence of understanding. It is knowing that one's worth is not determined by another's actions, that love is not measured by constant attention, and that a relationship should not be a place of anxiety, but of peace. When a person is emotionally secure, they bring stability into their relationship. They do not panic when their partner is distant for a moment, for they trust in the foundation of their love. They do not demand constant validation, for they know they are worthy with or without another's affirmation. They do not react in anger to small offenses, for they understand that love is built on grace, not perfection. A love that is rooted in emotional detachment is a love that lasts. It does not rise and fall with the tides of emotion, but remains steady through all seasons. It is not weakened by distance, nor is it shaken by challenges. It is built on trust, understanding, and the freedom to love without fear. The greatest relationships are not those without conflict, but those where both individuals have learned to master their emotions, to choose peace over turmoil, and to love not out of need, but out of the joy of giving freely. Many believe that to love deeply, they must hold on tightly, fearing that if they let go even slightly, love will slip away. But true love is not about clinging. It is about trusting. It is about allowing love to breathe, to grow, and to flourish without suffocating it with fear and control. The ability to release emotional burdens, to let go of unnecessary expectations, and to detach from fear-driven attachments is the key to sustaining a peaceful, healthy relationship. Those who master this truth find themselves not weakened by love, but strengthened by it. Letting go does not mean abandoning love. It means releasing the grip of fear that often disguises itself as love. Many enter relationships burdened by past pain, carrying wounds that were never healed. They bring with them the fear of betrayal, the fear of rejection, the fear of being alone. These fears, if left unchecked, create chains that bind love instead of freeing it. When one is attached to the idea that love must look a certain way, feel a certain way, or be expressed in a specific manner at all times, they set themselves up for disappointment. Love is not meant to fit within the confines of human expectation. It is meant to be experienced with an open heart and a trusting spirit. A person who does not know how to let go becomes a prisoner of their own emotions. They may hold on to grudges, unable to forgive past mistakes, even when love offers the opportunity for healing. They may obsess over things they cannot control, exhausting themselves. They may try to force someone to change, believing that their happiness depends on how another person behaves. But love cannot be forced. The more one tries to control love, the more it's slipped away, for love are meant to be held in captivity. True love is found in freedom, the freedom to be oneself, to trust in the goodness of love, and to give without expecting to receive in return. Letting go requires faith. It is the trust that love, when given freely, will return in its purest form. It is the wisdom to understand that not every relationship is meant to last forever, and that sometimes the greatest act of love is to release rather than to hold on. It is the strength to walk away from unhealthy attachments, to remove oneself from relationships that drain the soul rather than uplift it. It is the understanding that love should bring peace, not turmoil, joy, not constant anxiety. In relationships, the ability to let go allows for healing. It makes room for growth, both individually and together. It removes the weight of unnecessary expectations and allows love to be what it was meant to be, pure, patient, and kind. A person who has mastered the art of detachment, nor do they cling to it. They trust in the natural flow of life and relationships, understanding that love is not about possession, but about connection. They do not hold on to pain, but choose to forgive, knowing that love cannot flourish where resentment lingers. Many relationships are ruined not because love was absent, but because fear was present. Fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough. These fears create walls between hearts, making it impossible for love to flow freely. But when one chooses to let go of these burdens, they find that love becomes lighter, easier, and more joyful. They no longer seek to control or to demand, but simply to appreciate and cherish the love that is given. A heart that is free from attachment is a heart that is at peace. It does not waver in fear, nor does it seek to hold on to things beyond its control. It embraces love fully, without hesitation, but without chains. The greatest relationships are not built on the need to possess, but on the ability to love without fear. When one learns to let go, they find that love does not disappear. It becomes stronger, deeper, and more fulfilling than ever before. The power of detachment is not about withdrawing from love, but about embracing it with wisdom, trust, and freedom. It is about loving without fear, caring without controlling, and standing firm in one's emotions rather than being ruled by them. True love flourishes not in possession, but in trust, not in neediness, but in security, not in peace. When one masters detachment, they do not lose love, they purify it. They no longer react impulsively to every emotion, but choose to respond with patience and understanding. They do not cling to relationships out of fear, but allow love to grow naturally, unforced and unburdened. They let go of past wounds, unnecessary expectation, and the illusion that happiness depends on another person. In doing so, they find true peace. Not a peace dependent on circumstance, but a peace that remains steady through all seasons of life. Love was never meant to be a source of suffering, nor was it meant to be weighed down by insecurity and control. The greatest relationships are not those without challenges, but those where individuals have learned to love with open hearts and steady minds. To detach is not to love less, it is to love wisely. It is to trust that love, when given freely, returns in its purest form. Let love be rooted in faith rather than fear, trust rather than anxiety, and freedom rather than possession. For the one who masters detachment masters their emotions, and the one who masters their emotions masters their life.